Is this a great game or what? With the Hall of Famer Tim Kurkjian, I'm his son Jeff Kurkjian, and Dad, what are you wearing for the podcast today?
All right, this is my Applebee's shirt with the name Timmy on it. Now, the quick story behind that is that Julie Shavodian, Julie Townsend, my cousin, we did a shout out to her the other day, and she just texted me back to say, like, my 2025 year is now complete because she got a shout out on the podcast. Her sister is Amy Shavodi, one of her two sisters, and Amy listens to the podcast every time. So when I was in an airport, I want to say 20 years ago, some guy tackled me at the baggage claim. He looked me right in the eye and he goes, "I've seen you before. Where have I seen you? I know you from somewhere. Don't tell me where I've seen you." And then he looks at me and he goes, "You work at Applebee's, right?" So I had to explain, no, I actually don't work at Applebee's, even though I love Applebee's. So Amy, my cousin, hears the story, and for a Christmas present, she gets this shirt made. Applebee's with the name Timmy on the top. So I thought we needed to do a shout out to Amy to keep things equal after giving a great shout out to Julie the other day. Is that fair, do you think?
I think that's totally fair. I didn't realize that. Are you going to your lunch with your friend wearing that shirt later?
No.
You're going to change.
This is just for the podcast.
I've only had one mistaken identity. Remember that summer I lived in New York City and I worked for MLB.com?
Right.
It's a true story. I don't know if I've ever told you this. I was at a bar and these group of girls came up to me and this one girl goes, "My friends are too nervous to ask you, are you Jake Gyllenhaal?" And I'm with a group of guys that live in the same building I am. And I laugh and I say no. And they're all so upset. They're like, "Jeff, these beautiful girls, they're giving me the looks. Like, you should have said yes. They would have hung out with us all night." So I said, "No, I am Jeff Gyllenhaal, Jake and Maggie's little brother." And they proceeded to follow us, kind of invited them to the next bar. And I kind of was able to slip away from them. So I still don't know to this day if they think they met a Jeff Gyllenhaal, Jake and Maggie's little brother. And we were in the world of Google at the time. It's not like they couldn't have Googled it. They probably have since then and said that guy was messing with us. But yeah, that's the looks like I've gotten before, Dad. I've gotten it a couple of times. I don't see it, but that's where we're at. It looks like.
I love it, Jeff. You look a little bit like Jake Gyllenhaal. And as we know, he's in one of my favorite movies, October Sky.
I'm not nearly as talented as he is or as good looking, but I take it as a compliment every time.
I was down in the bathroom in our house where you used to live, and you occasionally come back. I should tell you first, we've rented out your room, so you're going to have to sleep somewhere else if you come back home. That's a
good
joke,
to know.
Jeff. But I was down in the bathroom on the low level of the house. And as you know, there's a basket full of baseball cards, just random cards as part of the baseball motif in the basement, right?
Great word.
So I went in to wash my hands in there, and there was a card sticking out above all the others. I'm not making this up. And I just took a casual look at it, and look who it is. It's Jim Deshaies.
Jim Deshaies,
Jim
guest
Deshaies,
of the show, friend of the
guest
show.
on the show a few weeks ago. Good Major League pitcher, great Major League broadcaster. I'm going to go see him tonight at Nationals Park, Cubs against the Nationals. But how rare is that Jim Deshaies' card, a guy who was our guest 3 weeks ago, was the one sticking out, like it was like coming out saying, "Recognize me, see me." And there it was Jim Deshaies. How great is that?
Are you going to bring the card with you tonight when you see him?
Yes, I am. Absolutely. Because Jim Deshaies, as we found out, which I already knew, one of the funniest people, tells a great story. So I'm going to bring this baseball card tonight to see my friend Jim Deshaies.
That's so funny, too, because I was using the restroom just right before we recorded, and look at what card I found, like right on top of the toilet. I don't know what it was doing there.
Right. Well, Jeff,
it's my Tim Kurkjian baseball card. You know what, Dad? You signed a bunch of these for Topps, and I can't help but notice mine is unsigned. So not even your son got an exclusive autograph of the Tim Kurkjian baseball card.
Jeff, I had to sign 2,500 of those cards. You know how long that took? You know how tedious that was? So maybe I just quit at 2,500. I'll make it 2,501 the next time I come there to tape the podcast. Okay.
What's more tedious, signing 2,500 baseball cards of yourself or playing Settlers of Catan?
Do you have any sheep, Jeff? Do you have any wood?
We'll leave it at that. If you know, you know.
Right.
The Settlers of Catan.
New meaning to the word tedious, yes.
Let's jump right in, Dad. Let's get to the takeaways as to what's going on in Major League Baseball.
Okay, the Rockies won a series, Jeff. They beat the Marlins 2 out of 3. They had lost 22 consecutive series going back to last season, which is a record for 2-season losing streak. And they had lost 19 straight series this year, which is one short of the Major League record for a single season. So I'm happy for the Rockies. Let's be clear. They're a terrible team, obviously. But, it's a beautiful stadium. We love Denver. The fans are great. But they just need to win a few more games. But they do have company, Jeff, because the poor A's, just lost 19 out of 20 games. And even the Rockies didn't lose 19 out of 20 at any point this season. And the Rangers, who I predicted would be the best offensive team in the American League this year before the season started, they just had their 20th game scoring fewer than 2 runs, which passed the Rockies for the most games this season scoring fewer than 2 runs. So the point is, we get no pleasure in making fun of the Rockies. They're professionals. I've been through this with the 88 Orioles. So it's good to see them win a series and good to see that they have company with other teams that are struggling almost as much. Also, Jeff, Junior Caminero, who is 21 years old for the Rays, just hit his 14th homer and had 5 homers in 6 games. He is the youngest player ever to drive in 6 runs in a game for the Rays. And we find out he's the youngest player since Alex Rodriguez in 1996 to have a 6-game stretch with 5 homers and 14 RBIs. What he's doing is pretty amazing. Jeff, when he was 20, I went to see the Blue Jays and the Rays play in Toronto. And Junior Caminero, who I'd never seen take BP before, put on one of the most amazing shows I've ever seen. And it was on the road at the Rogers Center in Toronto. And I'm not exaggerating. He got a standing ovation from the crowd behind home plate who had just watched him put on one of the great shows ever. So the point is, this kid can really hit. I'm not sure if he has a position, but man, oh man, does he have power.
Yeah, the young guys coming up. I mean, the Royals just called up a 21-year-old. We talked about it on the show on Tuesday, Dad. I love seeing the youth in baseball. Jackson Holliday leading off for the Orioles. It's great to see young guys in the game.
I totally agree. And that was Jack Caglione, who went 0 for 5 in his debut, but hit 4 balls hard. It's okay. He's going to be a really good hitter. Speaking of really good hitters, Jeff, the Mets, the last 27 games in which Francisco Lindor has hit a home run, the Mets have won. So they've won 27 straight regular season games in which Lindor has hit a home run. The record for such things is 29 consecutive games by Carl Furillo of the Dodgers, 1951 through 53. How about that? So it just shows you again how important Francisco Lindor is to the Mets. When he gets a big hit, it seems like they always seem to win.
It just kind of baffles me, Dad, and you talk about this all the time. Like, you think a record like that would be held by a Joe DiMaggio, a Babe Ruth, whatever it might be. Now, obviously, they hit a lot of home runs in their career, but sometimes the oddest records are held by not no names, but, not the big names, right? Every record is held by LeBron James, and every record's held by Tom Brady, right?
Right.
But not in this sport.
Right. It's beautiful. Yes. And Carl Furillo was a good player, and he had a great throwing arm from right field. I heard stories of Carl Furillo while I was growing up. Speaking of great players, the Mariners retired the number 51 for both Ichiro Suzuki and Randy Johnson. I'm not sure what took so long to retire Randy Johnson's 51 because he was so great. Ichiro, of course, so great. So I looked up, Jeff, the teams that have the same number retired to two different people. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So 51 is now Ichiro and Randy Johnson. And this doesn't include anyone wearing number 42 like Bruce Sutter or Mariano Rivera and Jackie Robinson, whose number is retired by every team. Okay. But Yogi Berra, Bill Dickey, number 8. For the Expos / Nationals, Rusty Staub and Andre Dawson, number 10. For the A's, Raleigh Fingers and Dave Stewart, number 34. And by the Cubs, number 31, Greg Maddux and Fergie Jenkins. So now we have 3 sets of Hall of Famers who have the same number retired by the same team. That's Maddux and Jenkins. That is Ichiro and the Big Unit. And that is Bill Dickey and Yogi Berra.
And I think of all of those pairings, none are more different than that of Randy Johnson and Ichiro Suzuki.
Yeah, they are completely different in every single way, but that's just another beauty of baseball. And once we get closer to the Hall of Fame, we will be talking an awful lot about Ichiro, the weekend that he goes in, well-deserved. And if anyone doesn't remember how great Randy Johnson was, you need to go back and look at those numbers because he's arguably the greatest left-handed pitcher ever. And I maintain he's the scariest, most intimidating pitcher in Major League history. 6'10", throws as hard as he did, throw down from the side. 6'10", Jeff. Rich Donnelly, our dear friend, once told me that Randy Johnson didn't even have a pickoff move to second base. He would just reach out and tag the guy because he was really tall.
What's really neat, Dad, is I don't know if you heard this. The Arizona Diamondbacks held a Randy Johnson photography night.
Yeah.
So they featured, so in his post-playing career, he's become quite an accomplished photographer across all things, including some really awesome nature photography, which I don't think you'll find you or I in a safari anytime soon, unless it's at Disney World. But I mean, it really is cool to see such a powerful, strong, athletic pitcher do something as beautiful and peaceful as photography. It's really talented,
and
too.
Randy Johnson is really good. And Ken Griffey Jr., as you know, is getting really good at that. So, 2 of the 4 greatest players maybe in the history of the Mariners have both turned to photography in retirement. I love that.
Well, I got to say, National Photography Day, Dad, is August the 19th, which is a Tuesday this year. But I think it's a great tie-in to get Randy or Ken Griffey Jr. on the show. And we don't have to talk anything about their great careers, only talk about their shutter speed.
That's really good. Okay, last note, Jeff, and this is a somber one in a way. It's a serious one in a way. So George Kirby of the Mariners got hit with a line drive in the mouth last night, okay? It scares me. It turns my stomach every time I see a pitcher hit with a line drive or a batter hit in the head. It's just the most terrifying thing. Maybe my favorite story, Jeff, that I ever wrote in my entire career was about the fear of the ball. The infielder's fear of taking a ball in the face on a bad hop. A hitter's fear, of course, getting hit by a pitch in the head or the face. And a pitcher's fear of getting hit with a line drive off the bat sometimes well over 100 miles an hour. So it reminds me of a guy named Mike Wilson, who on April 4th of 1994, Jeff, it was his 21st birthday. He's pitching for the Tigers, and he's going to the minor leagues the next day, but he's a major league prospect. And he pitched 5 innings that day in spring training, but his pitch count was so low. Pitching coach said, "Would you like to pitch a 6th inning?" He goes, "Sure, I got nothing to lose." And in the 6th inning, he threw a changeup, and a hitter named Boo Thompson, the aptly named Boo Thompson, hit a line drive that hit Mike Wilson right in the mouth. He lost 3 teeth. He blacked out, went to the ground in a bloody mess. The 3rd tooth, I don't want to gross you out here, Jeff. The 3rd tooth was found by the second baseman around second base, and he brought it over to Mike Wilson and said, "This is yours," as he's lying on the ground with blood spurting out of his mouth. So Mike Wilson had a surgery that lasted like 3 hours to get his mouth fixed, and he never really came back. His velocity dropped from 94 to 85 miles an hour, and he couldn't finish his curveball because he was always worried about landing and getting himself into fielding position. He told me this whole story, Jeff, and I was like in tears listening to a young guy whose career ended basically by being hit with a line drive. And then he told me something that it still gives me chills to this day, Jeff. He told me since he's been 8 years old, he's had this recurring dream that he got hit in the mouth with a baseball. And then he did at age 21 and ended his career. And the reason I'm telling you this, Jeff, is that people need to understand one more time how dangerous this game is to play and how much courage it takes to go out there when the ball is traveling at that rate of speed. I promise you, Jeff, if you ever threw a baseball in a major league game, the first thing that would scare the life out of you is, what if he hits it back at me? What's going to happen then? So
Dad.
God bless Mike Wilson. He has made a great recovery in life. All is well. And thank God that George Kirby is okay. I'm just trying to make the point again. This is a dangerous game, and those who play it on the highest level especially deserve a lot of credit for that.
Dad, you're absolutely right. I am a huge proponent of one day when it does come, and unfortunately it's going to come one day when something even worse happens to a pitcher, of face masks. I think we need to do double bag at first base. We won't get into that, but why not promote safety? It's not going to ruin the game, right? If players are wearing face masks, you see guys with the guard right here to protect a little more of their mouth. I'm all in favor of more safety. As a longtime Little League umpire, I'm a huge proponent of more safety. All right. On that note, Dad, let's jump in, change it up. Quirkjians of what's going on in Major League Baseball. What do you got?
Okay, so Lance McCullers of the Astros got a victory the other day, 986 days since his last victory, because he's been hurt most of the time. It's not ineffectiveness. He's been hurt. But the interesting part is that Isaac Paredes hit a home run in the game that Lance McCullers just won. He also hit a home run in the game 986 days ago. He was playing for the Rays, and he hit a home run in a game against Lance McCullers, or against the Astros in that game. So 986 days apart, and the same guy hit a home run in both of those games.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's a long time.
Again, these are the crazy things that happen all the time. All right, Tuesday night we had Pablo Lopez was the winning pitcher, and Jacob Lopez was the losing pitcher in the Twins-A's game. So we had a Lopez pitchers of record. Last time that happened was in 2019 when Jorge and Pablo Lopez were pitchers of record in the same game. Also interesting there, Jacob Lopez's line was 4 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 5 runs, 5 earned runs, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. So I called Frank from the Elias this morning and said, that's an odd line. He said, went back to 1900, can't find it. So that's the only pitching line exactly like that in Major League history. Does that, again, Jeff, does that not interest you? Because it really interests me that we played over 200,000 Major League games, and that specific line had never happened until Tuesday night.
You know what interests me more? Do you and Frank from the Elias engage in any small talk when you call, or do you just jump right in? Do you not say, hey, how's your mom? How's your brother? Okay, here it is? Or do you just jump right in?
Look, Frank is a friend of mine, but we got work to do. So when I asked him about Lopez, he thought I meant when was the last time that 2 pitchers with the same last name were pitchers of record. And last year, 2 guys named Hudson were the pitchers of record. And Frank added a personal note, my son's name is Hudson. How about that?
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah, so I really like that. And last thing, Jeff, I haven't told you this because it's too creepy, but I've seen 3 box scores this year, 3 that looked exactly like a phone number. Okay,
Oh.
you know I do this. If it starts,
people send these
Right.
to us now from
Right.
listening to the show, Dad.
Don't do it. It's not right. And boy, I'm going to violate my own rule here. I called one and it was a real working number. Okay, but I just wanted to make this personal to you, Jeff. The Phillies last night or Tuesday night got 6 in the first, 1 in the second, and 0 in the third.
That's the first 3 digits of my radio station number on 92.5 XTU in Philadelphia. Give us a call, 610-660-6925. It's one of our area codes in the Philadelphia area. Perfect.
I just thought the Philadelphia fans might look at that and either be really pleased or interested, or they might say, Tim has really got to get out of the house a little bit more, because this is creepy that he's even looking for phone numbers out of the line scores of Major League games.
All right, Dad, on this date in baseball history.
Chipper Jones, 2008, hit home run number 400. This is all very subjective, but I've got Chipper Jones as the 4th greatest third baseman of all time, behind Mike Schmidt, Eddie Matthews, and George Brett. And I got him as one of the 4 greatest switch hitters of all time, along with Mickey Mantle, Eddie Murray, and Pete Rose.
Where is Brooks Robinson on the greatest third baseman of all time?
He's probably 5th. But yeah, and let's not get into that argument here, Jeff.
You're the baseball writing Hall of Famer, okay?
I've got a Brooks Robinson painting hanging in my office.
I know you love Brooks Robinson. That's why I asked.
Well,
I had to know.
I just need to make sure everyone knows how great a player Chipper Jones was. Number 400 on this date in 2018. So on this date in 2015, Pat Venditti pitched in a major league game. He's the first ambidextrous pitcher to pitch in the 21st century. So he would, in that game that we're talking about, he threw left-handed to left-handed batters, right-handed to right-handed batters. And it was amazing to watch him. And go look him up in the Baseball Encyclopedia, Baseball Reference. It says, bats left, throws both, which is just something you're not used to seeing. I love that. So Bob Melvin, who was the manager of the A's when Venditti played there, told me in spring training one year, I said, Bo Mel, tell me about the ambidextrous pitcher. And he looks at me and he has the straightest face in the world. He said, I saw him throwing today in the bullpen wearing number 46, and he was throwing left-handed. And then about a minute later, I looked out there and he was throwing right-handed, and he was wearing number 64. And he was kidding, but for a split second, I thought, oh my God, the lefty-righty thing turned everything around.
Right.
Including his uniform number, which of course is the dumbest thing ever. All right.
Yeah. Us Kurkjians have a tendency to be slightly gullible.
Right. Yeah. Myself included. All right. Our only birthday this week is Bill Spires, who was born in 1966. He was a punter at Clemson. So Bill Spires punted at Clemson, okay, and was a really good shortstop in the big leagues, especially for the Brewers. So on this date, I love this. I'm the only one that would ever love this. On this date in 1997, he drew his 6th consecutive walk, which was done over a 3-game period. And that was one short at the time of the major league record for most consecutive plate appearances with a walk. But the streak ended when Bill Spires was hit by a pitch by Mike Remlinger. So it's not like he made it out. It's not like he even swung the bat. He got hit by a pitch which ended his walk streak, which I found very interesting. And then he walked a few more times. He reached base 13 consecutive times, which at the time was one short of the National League record. So that's one of the many things that Bill Spires did in his career. And it's his birthday. He was born in 1966.
All right. Coming up next on Is This a Great Game or What, Dad? You are going to run through the greatest number 20 of all time. We're also going to get the greatest Mariners player of all time in the best of all Tim. Team Tim about, quite frankly, Dad, I haven't heard the list yet, but something I respectfully think you and I know nothing about. So we're going to see how that goes. And
Jeff, I'm sure I know there are a million things that I know nothing about. And that's why you're on the show, Jeff, because you know about so many things that I have no idea about. Pop culture, music, a million other things.
And then we're going to get an I am a Seamhead dad from a Seamhead in training. He doesn't believe he deserves the Seamhead name yet, but we'll hear that coming up next.
I'll make that determination, Jeff. I'm kind of in charge of the project, don't you think?
I think so, too. Welcome back to Is This a Great Game or What? Dad jumping in. Ozzy to Oral. We're counting down the best players to wear each number from 1 to 55. So people are seeing these stats on social media and commenting all over the place. You can search wherever you get your podcasts, Is This a Great Game or What? If you're watching on YouTube right now or seeing this on social media, follow the podcast so you get these every single week. We've got number 20. What do you got?
All right, Jeff, let's be clear when we do these things. This is my decision, nobody else's. And again, this is not the correct decision or the right decision. This is my decision. So this is one of the hardest ones ever. Number 20, it's either Mike Schmidt or Frank Robinson. Mike Schmidt is the greatest third baseman of all time. And yet I am going to go by whisker with Frank Robinson. Frank Robinson hit 586 homers, had 2,943 hits. So meaning he was 14 homers and 57 hits short of 600 homers and 3,000 hits. That is a very, very small group. Of course, he won 2 MVPs, first guy to win them in both leagues, won a Triple Crown, and he won the Triple Crown, Jeff, same year he won the MVP for the Orioles in 1966. And I will never forget that Brooks Robinson, one of my all-time favorite people ever, I asked him about Frank once, and here's what he said. Oh, Frank was a great player. But mostly, Frank taught us how to win. So Frank Robinson came to the Orioles and taught the rest of that team, which was pretty darn good, how to win. Seriously, Jeff, is there a better compliment you can pay to a player than he taught us how to win?
I don't care what anybody says. When a player's not in the lineup or away from the team for a bit for any reason, it changes the whole dynamic on a team. It's unbelievable how difficult it can be when you don't have your de facto leader in the lineup with you. And I think that's one of the coolest stories. So not only obviously a Hall of Famer, but also the guy in the clubhouse that everybody wanted to play with because he was teaching them more than just how to be a great player.
Right. And Frank is the most ferocious hitter that I have ever spoken to. So famously, I was at an old timers game with him in Texas. Frank is playing. Jim Bibby is pitching in an old timers game. And Jim Bibby had just retired or been released. And he's out there throwing hard. And Frank is in his 50s. And Jim Bibby knocked Frank Robinson down in an old timers game. And I think he did it on purpose because Frank got knocked down more than anyone. And all it did was piss him off because then he would get up at the plate and say, you want to throw at me? I'll show you. And then Frank hit the next pitch over the left center field fence for a home run. And I mean a ringing line drive home run off basically really close to a major league pitcher, and Frank was in his 50s. So Frank was a coach with the Orioles at the time. So after the game, I go to Frank, and I say, Frank, all right, I'm going to give you 600 at-bats right now in the big leagues. As a designated hitter, you're 51 years old. How many homers are you going to hit? And he goes like this, 30. I said, Frank, you're 51 years old. And he goes, 35.
I love that.
That's who
That
Frank
is so
was.
great.
You challenge Frank Robinson. I've told multiple stories about that. You're usually going to lose. And Jim Bibby, who I loved and didn't mean to hurt anybody, he challenged Frank Robinson, and Frank Robinson won as he always did.
Dad, we also do the best of all Tim. We do this every single week. And today we're picking the Seattle Mariners organization as our choice. You tell us who is the greatest Seattle Mariner of all time. Now, we've already listed 2 of them on the podcast today.
Right. And Jeff, if anyone picks Ichiro Suzuki, you will get no argument from me. Randy Johnson is in the conversation. I don't think he's number one because most of his great years came with the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's the greatest player in the history of the Diamondbacks. So I'm picking Ken Griffey Jr. And even though Ichiro makes a compelling case, Ken Griffey Jr. put the Mariners on the map. He played there from 1989 to 99. He won, of course, an MVP. He came second in the MVP races. He hit 50 homers in back-to-back seasons. So he joined Willie Mays. He became the second player ever joining Willie Mays to hit 50 homers in a Gold Glove season. And he did it 2 years in a row. Even Willie Mays didn't do that. That shows you the power and the defense that Ken Griffey Jr. had. And I told you the story how great Jr. was as a rookie. He just signed with the Mariners to play pro ball, and they brought all their new draftees to the Kingdom to take batting practice. And Junior's 18 years old, and they're big leaguers everywhere. And the media is crowded around the batting cage to see the number one overall pick take batting practice. And he is literally laughing and joking with the media, and he's hitting line drives all over the field. I mean, most people would be scared to death to be 18 years old hitting in front of big leaguers in basically his first attempt in professional baseball. And Junior was laughing it up because he was so good. Then he took a rest. He came back, and the next 10 pitches he hit in the upper deck, or he hit over the fence in right field. That's how great Ken Griffey Jr. was. And I haven't spoken to Ken Griffey Jr. in almost 2 years, but you remember the last time I spoke to him, Jeff. This is the reason I haven't spoken to you. Remember what he said to me? This was in spring training of 2024. I hadn't seen him in a little while. What did Ken Griffey Jr. say to your dad?
And keep in mind, this was right before we started the podcast.
Correct. So this was on the first podcast.
You were taking on this huge new project, this huge new part of your career that members of our family have made possible because they're listening. And he said, some people retire.
I think that was a signal to me that maybe it's time for you to retire. He said, people retire. You know that, right? So I said, thank you, Junior. Good talking to you. And I had a pleasant chat with him, and I think he was joking, but with him, I'm never quite sure. But to me, he's the greatest Seattle Mariner ever based on what he did to really put the Mariners on the baseball map.
One of my favorite Ken Griffey Jr. stories that I personally have dealt with was when Eduardo Perez and I were doing the celebrity softball game play-by-play. I was asked to do it, one, because Eddie suggested me, but two, I was a longtime radio host in Cleveland, and that was the year that the All-Star game was in Cleveland. So I got the opportunity to be the play-by-play voice. Eddie was my color guy, and we had so much fun. But all of a sudden, they put the play-by-play desk during those games on the field. So you're just right there. And all of a sudden, calling the game, got the microphones on, and Ken Griffey Jr. comes over and is just dapping up Eduardo right next to me when I'm having the biggest game of my life, the biggest job opportunity. And these games are pre-recorded, so you have to reset. Adnan Virk and I talked about this on the podcast last year. You have to reset every time. So if they don't swing at a pitch, it's, all right, now pitching to Stephanie Beatriz of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's ball. Okay. Now pitching. So it's a very...
It's an impossible job.
It's tedious.
I was the color guy. It's like playing Settlers of Catan, only more tedious.
So I'm like trying to stay focused here, and Ken Griffey Jr. is 2 feet away from me, chatting it up with Eduardo, and he's holding his mic away so it doesn't get on the broadcast. Anyway, I just thought that was so funny. We wanted to get him on the show, but he was just obviously walking through. So love Ken Griffey and love the choice, Dad, for the best of all, Tim. Let's jump into Team Tim, and I had mentioned earlier, your theme this week is something I like to think neither of us know anything about, really.
All right. This is the all clothing team, Jeff. And believe me, I came up with this in like the last 24 hours. This Will Vest guy is the closer now for the Tigers. And he pitched last year and he was good, but now he's the closer and the Tigers have the best record in baseball. So as a tribute to Will Vest, I came up with the all clothing team. Now let's start. Wait. Neither one of us knows about clothing. Is that what you're saying?
I just don't think you or I have much style. Like, you have some great suits in there. Other than that, I don't think you and I have great step. Yeah, I don't think we have great style, Dad.
Jeff, I think you should speak for yourself here, okay?
Dad, you're wearing a shirt that says Applebee's and Timmy on it. I mean, case in point.
You're right. I'm not. I have a lot of nice clothes, and I'm not a very well-dressed man because I don't know how to use them. So Will Vest is one of the pitchers on the all-clothing team, okay? The rest of the pitching staff is overall. Sox Seabold.
No.
Yes, that was his. Obviously, that wasn't his real name, but that was the name you see on Baseball Reference. Sox Seabold, pitched a long time ago. Samuel Frock. I'm not sure what a frock is, but I know it's a piece of clothing. And Jason Beret. A beret, of course, is, and Jason Beret spelled his name Bere. I think there's a T at the end of Beret. I can't even spell clothing. That's how bad I am. All right. The first baseman is Brandon Belt. Second baseman is Ty France. T-Y, but we're going to pretend it's T-I-E, France.
Right.
Okay.
I'll take it.
How am I doing so far, Jeff? I did this in less than 24 hours. Is this a bad list or not?
It's not bad. You know, I'm just going to be completely honest. I went into Baseball Reference when you started this, and I just started typing in items of clothing, and nothing was coming up. But at second base, you could have had Charlie Schumacher.
Yeah, he's on, but he would be more on the all-occupation team, which I've come up with. He's a shoemaker. He's not a Schumacher. Okay, all right.
Right.
Can I finish the list? All right, Paul Schall, Sehaal, is the third baseman. I grew up watching him play. Gene Segura, former Philadelphia Philly, is the shortstop.
Right.
The outfield is Jason Coates, spelled Coats. Boots Day, played for the Expos and others, was a scout friend of mine. Love Boots Day. And this is a stretch. Shoeless Joe Jackson is the last outfielder. So it's a piece of clothing that he didn't wear, but it's still nonetheless a piece of clothing. And this is the biggest stretch ever. Our catcher is Shane Halter. Shane Halter caught 2 games in his major league career because he was mostly a utility infielder. But it's important to note, Jeff, that Shane Halter was one of those few guys, joining Bert Campaneris and Cesar Tovar from a long time ago, who played all 9 positions in a major league game. So he caught in a major league game, not once, but twice. But one of those times was part of he played all 9 positions in a major league game. So Shane Halter is the catcher. You seem totally unimpressed with the all-clothing team, Jeff.
I'm not unimpressed, Dad. I'm just worried that we're going to get canceled again. Because you forgot, what does my daughter have in her hair every day?
Oatmeal?
No, a bow.
Oh, a bow.
Bo Jackson.
Oh, my God. I forgot Bo Jackson again.
We may have left him off of the all-football baseball team, and now...
We may have left him off. We did leave him off in the biggest mistake of my professional career.
I'm trying to protect your legacy here, all right? People heard it. People chimed in. And now every time you come up with a team, Tim, I desperately try to see if Bo Jackson can be fit into it. And I think he could be on the all-clothing team.
He was on the all-romance team, according to you, because Bo, but
You're my Bo.
I had Bo Aldred, which spelled his name B-E-A-U. You're spelling it B-O. You don't spell McKinley's bow in her hair B-O. That's why I left him out, all right?
Right.
I forgot about it.
As if you don't make higher stretch than that, Ty France.
My reach is just terrible. My reach is bigger than Dikembe Mutombo's reach. You don't even remember who he was.
I know Dikembe.
Right. Very good. Okay.
Got the finger wag going on there.
All right.
Was when Jordan shot that free throw with his eyes closed, was he doing that at Dikembe Mutombo?
He might have been.
Well, famously, he like dunked over Dikembe Mutombo, and Michael Jordan.
Well,
The GOAT.
I asked
anyway.
Tim Legler is one of the great shooters ever. Works with me at ESPN, and I pushed him into it. I pushed him into this. I pushed him into it. I said this a few years ago. I said, Legs, one of the great shooters ever. I said, Legs, I'm going to give you 100 free throws, and your eyes have to be shut on release, meaning you can get to the setup and get to here. But on release, your eyes have to be shut. How many free throws out of 100 can you make with your eyes closed? I said, I think you can make 80. And he looked at me and he said, I think I can make 80. Now, I pushed him into this. He wasn't volunteering. Hey, Tim, how many do you think I can make with my eyes closed? I pushed him, but that's what Legs told me. Boy, I used to love to sit around and talk hoops with him. He is a absolute great broadcaster and knows the game, obviously, inside and out because, among other things, of that great shooting ability.
A quick Google says that he shot 84% from the free throw line in his career. So he's saying, and granted, not a game situation, obviously, different situations. He's doing them in a row. I understand that.
No fatigue when you're shooting on the side by yourself.
Without a doubt.
I think Tim Legler in his prime would have made 80 free throws with his eyes closed. At release, okay? I'm not saying he's going up there with a blindfold on and can't see the rim. He just can't see the rim at release.
It's pretty impressive. All right, Dad, I am a Seamhead. We do this every Thursday, and if you think you're a Seamhead or maybe a Seamhead in training, you can email me, jeff@greatgamerwhat.com, with a voice note. Very easy to do. You can do it right on your phone. Hit send email, jeff@greatgamerwhat.com, Dad. And today, Andrew Patterson, friend of the show, member of the family, he sent us a voice note about the little things in the game that he has been obsessing over for quite some time. Now, he's also, Dad, sent in a couple of pitcher matchups that you deem to be too much of a stretch, which is saying something for some of the ones that you come up with.
No, anyone who's trying this, it's not a stretch, okay? Adrian Hauser, Chad Holmes, I'm good.
Hauser, Holmes, yeah.
Love her. Love it.
Got to do what you got to do. So here's Andrew Patterson. He claims to be a Seamhead in training.
Hello, Jeff and Tim. I've been a listener since day one, and I'm a Seamhead in training. I've started looking at more and more baseball box scores to find the, quote, oddities that are discussed weekly on the podcast. I came across one this past weekend when my team, the Giants, and my wife's team, the Tigers, both lost 1-0. I felt like this was a rarity, but I wanted to better understand how often games ended 1-0. From 1875 to 2000, a 1-0 game happened about 2.3% of the time. However, in 2024, there were only 38 games, 1.56%, that finished 1-0. This season, though, through Sunday, June 1st games, there have been 25 games to finish 1-0, or 2.83% of the time. As a nugget to Tim, Walter Johnson leads all pitchers with 38 1-0 wins. I'm Andrew Patterson, and I'm a Seamhead in training.
So, Dad, he is obsessed now. He said he can't stop thinking about games that finish 1-0.
Okay, Andrew, you are no longer a Seamhead in training. You are officially a Seamhead. I am the judge and jury in all of these things because I've been a Seamhead my entire life. The fact that you took the time to look up all these 1-0 notes, the fact that you're interested in 1-0 notes, and most important, Jeff, he referenced Walter Johnson's number of victories, 38 in 1-0 games. Jeff, did I ever tell you that I went to Walter Johnson High School?
Did you ever tell me that you worked at Applebee's with that shirt?
So, yes, and he's right. The 1-0 games are up this year. The Yankees, by the way, have won 3 1-0 games this year. They won a total of 3 in the last 3 years combined. And of course, the Reds lost 3 1-0 games in a row this year. It's the second team since 1920 to do that. The 1960 Phillies did that. So there are a million great 1-0 notes. But the note here is that Andrew is no longer a Seamhead in waiting. He has, along with Steve Sparks, officially joined the Seamhead Club.
you can join the Seamhead Club as well. You can just email me, jeff@greatgamerwhat.com. Congrats to Andrew for getting your seams, your stripes. What do we give out? The seams?
Right, the seams. Instead of he gets his stripes, he gets his seams.
Gets his seams.
Very good, Jeff. I'm
Pretty
glad.
neat.
All right, listen,
Thank
I
you.
got to go. I have to go have lunch with a friend, and then I'm off to the Nationals game. I'm not going to Applebee's, but would it be great, Jeff, if I went into Applebee's wearing this shirt, Applebee's with Timmy on the top, and just sat down and ordered something? Would that be great? I've never done that. Do I need to do that?
You should change the lunch setting with your buddy to Applebee's and just start bussing tables when you're done eating. I would love that. All right, Dad, we'll go have fun at your shift this afternoon. Good luck. I heard they're doing a buy one, get one free Mott sticks, so it's going to be get a bloomin' onion there.
All right. Well, thank you, Jeff. We'll talk next week.
Thank you so much for listening. And as always, thank you for being a part of our family.